Thank you again for being here. Tonight, like we said, we want to tell you guys 3 stories, 3 journeys to show you the way that your support is making a difference in transforming lives. You know, we're working to reach young people, not just here in San Diego, but all across the country and eventually all across the world. And so what we're trying to do tonight in these 3 stories is give you a picture of what's going on. So we want to start by sharing the journey of one kid and the difficulties he was facing in his life. And this story is typical of so many kids that we see around us in our community here in El Cajon, in San Diego, and all across our country. So we want to introduce you real quick to Carlos Flores.
Hi, my name is Carlos. I'm 18 years old. I just graduated. I'm an intern at Foothills, and Youth Venture Teen Centers changed my life. So I grew up in a very broken household. My father was deported when I was 3, and so that made it really hard for me to just have someone to look up to and just kind of be around. Like, me and my brother really never had that person to look up to. My mother was a drug addict, and so it caused a lot of chaos in my family, and that just made it so, like, just day to day, I didn't really know what was gonna happen. There was always like a lot of screaming and yelling in my house, and so that really caused me a lot of fear, just because I didn't know if, you know, my mom and my grandma were gonna start fighting, or if we were gonna get kicked out one day, or if she was just gonna leave and not come back. There was a lot of options that she could have just... Yeah, so there was a time where me and my brother were living with her, and she would go to her boyfriend's house, and we would stay with her, and we would just kind of be on the couch. I would be telling him, like, just not to worry, just, it's all right, but there would be all this yelling and screaming from the other bedroom, and I really knew that things weren't okay, but I was the older brother, had no real man in the house, so I had to man up and just, from a very young age, I think I was around like 11, just tell him, like, you know, things are gonna be all right, even when I didn't believe it.
You know, I don't think it surprises any of you when I say that the young people of our nation are suffering. In every city and every community across our country, there are young people who are just like Carlos was. And I really believe that the moment is becoming more and more urgent every day. The challenges, the difficulties, the temptations and struggles that the young people of our nation face today are like nothing I've ever seen. This isn't the same country that I grew up in, isn't the same culture. And I know a lot of you are like me, you're really concerned about our country and our future. But for young people, it's dire. It's literally life and death. And the wickedness they face needs to be fought against. If no one intervenes, we'll lose a generation, we'll lose our country. And the problem is that so many churches have a real heart and a burden to reach the young people of their communities, but their strategies aren't working. And the things that maybe used to work in the past, the things they've done, aren't having the same impact that they used to. And they have a deep burden and they're working really hard, but they need answers. You know, in 1992, God gave Mark Hoffman the vision to launch the Youth Venture Teen Centers. And for over 30 years, Foothills Church has been running 4 centers in our community, and we've seen incredible impact, incredible transformations in the lives of the young people that have come in there. Some of those people are in this room tonight, guys like Shane Blayfield. And for over 20 years, I was involved with those centers. For over 10 years, I ran the entire Youth Venture program. And as I did, I noticed that we had something that was uniquely effective at reaching the young people there. And over the years, God began to plant a burden in my heart. Some of you guys have heard this story. Really, it was just one question, a question that was just 2 words. And that question was, what if? At some point, I'm gonna get choked up. It's inevitable. What if there was a teen center in every community? What if we could help churches in the communities across our country plant their own teen center to reach the young people of their community the way we've seen, the way we've been able to reach those young people? And that's how Visit was launched, with a vision to help churches reach the young people of their communities. So we began 3 years ago sharing the story of the impact of these teen centers, we began meeting people and working with churches, one by one, slowly building those relationships and working with them to guide them in planting their own teen center in their community. So I want to introduce you tonight to a second story, a second journey, to one of those people who are making a big impact in their community. James Wiley Jr. Hold on a second, I got a video to play first. James Wiley Jr. is the founder and president of Real Teens. He's been working with young people in Southeast San Diego for probably more years than he would want to admit. And he grew up in those neighborhoods. He knows the struggles that those young people face. And so we want to tell you his story right now and his journey to reach those young people and to plant his very own teen center at St. Stephen's Cathedral.
Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Pastor James Wiley Jr. I'm the youth pastor here at St. Stephen's Church. I'm also the founder and president of Real Teens, and we launched our teen center here at St. Stephen's Church back in June. I want to show you guys around. Follow me. This is it. This is the Real Teens Teen Center. REAL stands for reaching, engaging, empowering, loving. That's what we want to do through this teen center. Meet kids, reach them, engage them, empower them, and share the love of Christ with them. We are open 6 days a week for kids to come to after school, on the weekends, Saturday and Sundays we're open. And we just want to give them just a safe place. The purpose of Real Teens is to be a safe haven of love, support, and fun for teenagers while promoting spiritual growth and service to the community. And this is what we want to do here with this space. As you can see, we have the screens with the PlayStation. We got the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox. We have a computer table for kids who need to do homework. We're going to begin a tutoring program soon. We have a Music Monday program, so we have a young lady who comes and teaches music and production. We have our youth groups in here on Wednesday nights, and we're going to start a tech class for students, so teaching kids how to build up and break down computers. So we're just doing a whole lot for the kids, just giving them different opportunities for different things. But the most important thing is we're discipling them. We're sitting them down, we're getting to know them, and we're teaching them about Christ, taking them through curriculum given to us by Visit Ministries, just to help them understand who they are and who God called them to be. So it's been fun so far. We're getting kids in here, and God is allowing us to make an impact in this community.
All right, now I'd like to invite James Wiley Jr. up here right now. Let's give him a round of applause. I don't know if I want to sit next to him. He looks better than me. All right, so thank you for being here, man.
Glad to be here. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'll give you the mic in a second. So we just launched your center in June.
Right.
We'd been working on it for quite a while before then. For about a year, we've been working on getting this center up and running. But first, I'd like you to share, what is it like to grow up in that neighborhood in Southeast San Diego? What are the difficulties they face, and how have you seen it change over the years?
Yeah. So it's definitely difficult growing up in that community. One of the main issues is there are very little safe spaces for teenagers to go. If you go to the park and recs, a lot of the park and recs are gang hubs. So, our kids want to go to the park and rec, maybe play some basketball, but they end up getting associated with the gang, and that just leads to its own, problems. So, growing up in that community, there has been very little safe spaces. That's why a lot of us get involved in sports, because that's really the only thing that we can do that keeps us safe. But even in that, you get test points with, gang coach and stuff like that. So, it's not easy. It's definitely rough without those safe spaces.
So when did God begin to give you a burden to reach these kids, and especially to reach them in a different way than maybe the efforts you were seeing around you?
Right. So my call came in 2007. It was my 7th year as a volunteer for Young Life. And it was the first year, though, that I was able to take a group of kids to Young Life camp. So I take this group of kids to Young Life Camp. We're in Williams, Arizona, in the middle of nowhere. You know, these inner city kids going through the mountains, like, where are we going and why? And but when we pull up, we see like the zip line and the blob and like everything was just amazing. So we go to Young Life Club the first night, and they're in there dancing and singing and, you know, Sweet Home Alabama, and my kids are like, what? Why did you bring me here, right? And so they're holding up the wall and they're just like not engaged, but by the third night, like they were the center of attention, up, jumping and singing and just having so much fun. And I saw in that moment the importance of safe spaces that's positive, full of fun, that allows them to be able to process the gospel in an easier way and to kind of let their walls down and connect easier with their leaders. So that week at camp, God really put a burden on my heart to, number one, go into full-time youth ministry. First time I ever had that thought in the 7 years of volunteering with Young Life. Never thought about doing it full-time, but at that camp, I really felt the burden to do so. And then I also felt the burden to bring this experience back to my community, because, you know, you're at camp, you have this mountaintop experience and so much fun, but then day 6, you got to go back home, and, you know, all these different problems that you face in the homes, and the kids have to face that all over again. So I felt the burden to bring this back to my community, a space where kids can have this type of experience daily and not have this drop because they're no longer around that space. So that's where it happened.
So what did you begin working on?
That was a different story now. So I get back home, and I think very soon after that I met Dr. Nate Landis with Urbius Collaborative, and I found out he was in my neighborhood doing Bible club, so I began volunteering with him as well as Young Life. And I just kept volunteering and trying to figure out what this call looked like. Like, how do I do this full time? How do I bring this experience back to my community? But I knew that God had spoke to me at that camp. I had no doubt in my mind about it. So after about 5 years of volunteering with Young Life and Urban Collaborative, they both brought me on staff in Southeast San Diego. So I knew that it was actually God talking to me and not the tacos that I ate that night. And so that kind of let me know that, okay, God is calling me to really bring this experience back to my community. How do I do that? So just began praying and doing research and trying to figure out what that looked like. And at Young Life Camp, there was always this hub where all the kids tend to hang around, and that was like the teen center. It was a teen center. It was like foosball, ping pong tables, air hockey. Right next to it was a snack bar, and like during free time, all the kids would be there. So I was like, why don't I bring this type of environment back to my community, a teen center? And that's what I started working on, and launched Real Teens in 2018 and started doing just like quarterly events, pop-up events for students in the schools and in the community. And then this past June, we launched the actual teen center.
Yeah, so we first got a mobile teen center launched, and me and James had connected, talked about a teen center, even toured a space. This was years ago, and but then years later, after we launched Visit, we reconnected at a UIC luncheon. Yeah. And so that vision and the idea to launch a teen center was reignited. We have some slides to show you while we just can talk. So we began to work at it. You approached your pastor, Pastor Glenn, at St. Stephen's Cathedral, who was your youth pastor when you were a kid, and he offered us a space at his church to put the teen center. So just go and press play, and it'll just run. And so, okay, yeah, not too loud, good. So we have some pictures. So this is us, the first time we met in the space, but the space needed a lot of work. There were flooring issues, drywall issues, painting issues, some leaking going on. So we just began to work on the space. We had some hurdles to overcome. So Tom Guerrera, who's here tonight, donated all of the painting. You're gonna see him pop up in a second here. All the painting, all the supplies to repaint the room. There's us together. So we got work painting. The floors need to be redone. So Foothills Church covered the cost for Integrity Flooring to come out and replace all the floors. So you're gonna see this in a minute. I'm talking too fast. And during this whole process, me and James, right, we began to meet every week. We went through, so there's the floors, and you'll kind of see the skeleton of the place. And there we go. And that's that's where we got to. And we began to meet every week. Sheldon's Cafe in La Mesa. We started going through the program manual that we had developed, training him on what a teen center looks like, helping you to overcome all those hurdles. We went through the volunteer training, director training, giving you the resources, and then finally, we were ready to launch. We got the games, all the stuff for inside the center. So we have one more video to play. I want to show you guys that day, when James planned his launch event, and the teen center got up and running. Got it up and launched. Amazing. So I want you just to share, we just finish up real quick. I talk too much. What's been happening since? What are your dreams for the future? And any last thoughts you might want to share?
So we have to be very creative about how we get kids in there and get them exposure to the teen center. So we've been able to partner with different groups in our community. We've had the Lincoln High School football team come out. Our church adopted them, and so we do pregame meals for them. Came out to the church, got prayed for, then had them come up to the teen center for some food and a video game tournament. So now they have exposure. There's another a youth football team, the Skyline 12 and under youth football team. They came on a Monday night to do film at the teen center. So we've just been doing just a lot of things just to try to get more exposure to the youth in our community. So every day is different. Some days there's a lot of kids, some days there's none, and that's just kind of how it is. But they're hearing about it, and kids are being discipled. Like kids who come, they're engaging in the lessons, and it's been great. Last words I say is it's been an honor and a pleasure to work with Jeremy and visit Ministries. He's definitely a godsend. God definitely sent him at the right time, and the ministry just really makes it easy to run the teen center because they have all the resources. So it's like plug and play. Like I do videos on my phone, and there's these apps that I use, and it just makes me look like a professional. And I'm just putting in the videos. So he's almost like that. Like he's the app that you just plug your church into. He has all the resources, the training materials, and then just connecting with him like on a weekly basis he's become like a friend, to me. So please support his ministry because we need more churches opening teen centers in our communities. The more, the better, because our kids really need it. So thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you so much, James. James really is absolutely incredible. He is doing so much for the young people in that community and working so hard, and he's just an amazing man. So it's a privilege to be friends with him and been able to do a little part of helping him to walk. So this is just such a great example of what we're seeing happen with churches all over. For each church, there's a journey to get there. There's hurdles to overcome. And even beyond planting centers, what we're trying to do is help churches to see and do youth evangelism different, to gain a new vision and a new heart for reaching the young people of their community. Where maybe some churches have been complacent or undervalued youth. For others, just seeing it in a new way where instead of treating young people like consumers, they start treating them like sons and daughters, and they invite them into the family of God. So this summer, you have made it possible for us to launch 4 teen centers. And in the last 2 years, we've seen 7 teen centers launched, which is incredible. And we have some incredible plans and dreams for the future, some great things on the horizon. And so I want to invite up my brother, Matt, to share with you the third journey, visit, and what we got on the horizon.
Thanks. If I could get my dad up here to tell my birth story just one more time. They've forgotten. Okay. Oh, my mom is here too. Thanks, everybody. My goal is to tell you a little bit about our 1, 3, and 10. I'm not going into detail on this. It's over here. So I want to point over here. I want you, I hope, to come over, take a look, ask me questions, ask Jeremy questions. We've gotten together as a board to really pray over this, and this is what we think God wants to do for us in the next year, 3 years, 10 years. Jeremy gave you a little bit about where we currently stand. I'm going to touch on it because I think the contrast of where we're going will help. 7 lifetime launches of teen centers. 15 centers supported today. 4 centers launched last year. We've had a 0 attrition rate. I think that's really important because we've seen centers launch and fail in the past prior to Visit, and we've seen struggling centers that needed to be relaunched since Visit started, but not in the last year and not in the last 2 years. We're in one country, United States. Can I get an amen, Derek? There he is. We're in 5 states. We're in California, Florida, Washington, Colorado, and Utah. And we're in 5 San Diego communities today. Now, a picture of maybe some statistics, and I'm breaking some cardinal rules here because I think statistics are hard for us, right? But I want to give you a picture of what a really successful operation of a center looks like. We wrote some software a long time ago where we were taking all the data, check-ins and lessons, and comments on kids. We have a year at a successful center, we'll have about 11,000 annual visits. Those are unique visits from kids. It's about 30 visits a day. That's a pretty successful center. 365 lessons in a year. It's a lesson a day, there's 30 lessons a month. I've seen higher than that at times. I've seen some lower than that, but that's a picture of success, right? You've heard a little bit about these lessons, and if you haven't, they've been redesigned by my beautiful wife, and they're right up here. And they've been rewritten, and originally was Mark Hoffman's writings. 7,800 meals. That's 5 meals a week. So when I ran a center or didn't run a center, I volunteered from 12 to 3 on Sunday for 12 straight years over in Lakeside. And I didn't understand the meaning of a meal for these kids. I never, during my time, cooked a family meal at the center. But we did a study later, and we asked kids what meant the most to them. And many of them, surprisingly to me, said a family meal was the most impactful to them. They didn't get that at home. They didn't get that picture of family. I remember I would take them to like fast food, and I would get them in the car, and we're on the way, and I'd say, hey, are you hungry? And they'd say, no. Do you want to eat? No. And when you've been around the block long enough, you understand that the next question has to be, when is the last time you ate? And it's in our backyard, but I mean, they would tell us yesterday, the day before yesterday, breakfast. It's just shocking. And to be able to sit down with a meal in a center, it really means a lot to these kids. And that was one of the most impactful things to them that we've heard. So a few things we want to do in 1 year. We want to launch 10 new centers. So we did 4 last year, so this is a big jump. But we have 10 centers right now that seem poised and ready, and they want to launch this next year. That's 3 new in San Diego communities. It's 3 new centers internationally. And it's 2 new states. That's 25 total supported centers in 4 countries, 7 states, and 8 San Diego communities. Some of our qualitative goals we want to accomplish this year is to keep it free for those we support. Right now, we don't charge anything because of donors like you and because of successful events like this. We want to keep it free as long as we can. That's at the heart of the mission for the board. We want to translate the lessons into Spanish, especially because one of those countries is Guatemala, one of them is Mexico. We want to partner with someone who can help us with real estate troubles. So one of the big barriers to a lot of these churches is getting real estate. Sometimes they do it inside their building, but we want to visit them where they are, right? We want to get out where they are in their communities, oftentimes between schools, like when they're walking home. We want to start an internship program. So right now, Jeremy is everything. Jeremy does everything. He gets all the churches to start engaging with us. He helps all the way through launch, and then he helps them all the way along. And we need him to be able to replicate himself. We want to double our program budget, go from 4 to 10, and we want to get a little more efficient at it. We want to get 25% more efficient. Now I'm going to cover a little bit on the 3 and a little on the 10. We're not going to get much more into the details of numbers. But we want to launch 30 new centers in 3 years. We want to support 45. Something I think is important for us here today is that is a 67% blanket over San Diego. We're focusing a lot on San Diego because people can come and they can visit a center. They don't need to go far. They don't need to pop on a flight. We have a heart to do it all over the United States. And where those opportunities come up internationally, we want to do it. But we have such an opportunity here, and we've seen a lot of God's opening doors for us in San Diego. In 10 years, we want to launch 100 centers. Now, I did the math for you on one successful center. 100 centers would mean 1 million visits. That'd be 50,000 lessons done annually, and it'd be 750,000 meals. All right, so if you have a bingo card and it's get every Miller to choke up, you are successful. Go get a glass of free wine. Bring me one. So I'm going to tell you a little story, a story about a story. So a few weeks ago, we did a community service day at my company, Adamo. My boss is right back there. It's Josh. Yeah. Could you, Josh, wait for the crowd? No. All right. So I convinced my local office down here to go to our local teen center. It's Youth Venture Lakeside. So we go, and we're just working. We're scrubbing toilets, we're cleaning bathrooms, we're cleaning the kitchen, we're scrubbing walls and cleaning windows. We're painting. Yeah. Painting and painting and painting. We put up some wall decor that Christine Bailey had designed for the center. After about 2 hours, everybody's pretty gassed, and we take a little break, and I get everybody together. And I'm trying to tell them, these are just my coworkers, right? I've got accountants there. I've got people who install alarm systems. I've got guys who do construction and project management of huge facilities, and they're in there cleaning up this center. I'm trying to tell them the impact that the center has so they can understand the impact that they're having. So I start to tell them the impact of a meal on a kid. Right? I start to tell them the impact of these lessons on kids. These lessons that talk about them having purpose and meaning and design. And they're getting it, they're liking it, right? And I wanted to talk to them about the 25-year, 30-year impact of just one center. And I'm like, do you guys remember last week when we had a commercial AC dropped onto our building and installed? That was a Youth Venture kid. And they're like, what? That's crazy. And then one of my employees raised their hands. And they're like, I just want to thank you for having us out here to do this because my niece married a Youth Venture kid. And she's like, he never knew family. And then he went through Youth Venture and he learned family. And he was a great husband and he's a great father. And I just was saying thank you to my coworkers for spending their time doing this. I get choked up like I am now, and I asked the director who was there, I said, just say something about Youth Venture. I had told them before that, because I missed my notes, they're on the ground. I ran that shift for 12 years, and I've spent a lot of time, 8 years since then, just volunteering and impacting in different ways. I think one of the most profound things that I've experienced is all the kids we've interacted with, all the kids I've been exposed to, and all the leaders I've been exposed to, none of us have ever known a kid who's committed suicide. I told my staff that. I know it's a bit intense for the moment, but that might not sound so serious because you're like, well, how often does that happen, right? You might not have ever met a kid. But when you're interacting with these kids for so long, for so many years, and these aren't any kid, these are the kids that are highest risk for this, especially in recent years. So that is a miraculous statistic. I get choked up thanking my team. I hand the mic over to the director, and the director goes, when I was in 7th grade, I made detailed plans to kill myself. And then a month later, I found Youth Venture. I had no idea, right? This was completely unknown to me. And he goes into some detail, and I just want to emphasize that he's running one center, and he's running 4 centers. This is not, I could have gone on all day telling my coworkers about the different Youth Venture kids and the success they've had in our community here that all come back to just a one center. We've got many centers in San Diego. But this is a generational impact we make with one center, 30 years. So just think for a moment, what does 100 look like? That's what we want to do. We want to get with as many churches as we can who have a heart for youth, who need the resources that Jeremy has spent years developing off the back of Mark Hoffman. But 30 years ago, over 30 years ago, Mark Hoffman, where is Mark? He was right there. He had a vision to start a youth venture. That would not have happened if it wasn't for a group of people who caught it and could see something they could never imagine. There's no chance they could imagine the impact it would have in 30 years. But they believed it and they supported it. A group of people just like this. I think right now a lot of you are thinking, how can I be a part of this? You are a part of it, you're here. So many of you have given and you've made this possible for years. We want to make it possible for 10 more, and we want to have this impact God's put on our hearts to have. And I hope you share that with us today. So thank you. That's where I cut off, and we're going to watch the rest of Carlos's story.
I found Youth Venture because one day I was walking down Lakeside with my mom, and we just stumbled across this teen center. And my mom thought it was a really good idea to go inside and just start talking to the people, even though me and my brother weren't really interested. The first thing I noticed when I walked through the door was a bunch of kids my age and older, just looking like they were having a great time, just safe. And that wasn't really something I was used to. And we saw a bunch of adults just looking after the kids, making them food, which, you know, I wasn't always guaranteed a meal that day, so that was really awesome to just see that. I saw a lot of students my age that were just really friendly, and I just didn't have a lot of friends at that moment in time, so it was really cool just to see people that got along with me and just wanted to hang out with me. And also that were kind and nice to my brother. That was really cool too. Since I started going to the buses and they would take me to the church, and then I got involved with the Awanas group for the middle school, and then I also came to junior high group. It really did just give me hope, because I kind of realized, like, you know, things might actually get better and there's people that actually care about me. So I got saved at a winter camp. On the last night of worship, the pastor made an altar call. I was really too embarrassed to go up to the front because I didn't want my friends to really know that I was struggling with this thing. And so while there was worship, I was in the back of the room just by myself praying to God, saying, God, I want to experience you as a father, but I'm too afraid to go up there. But I do, like, I prayed this by myself in the back. I said, God, I really do want to experience that. Like, everything that they've been talking about these past years that I've been coming to Youth Venture, all the stuff that the church has been talking to me about that I could experience when I get to know God as my Savior and my Father, I just want to experience that because I've never experienced that before. I really did experience a new peace and hope in my life because I understood that these people around me at my school and at church and just in my community in general all struggled with things, and I also had struggles in my life, but I knew that that I had help by my side, that God would help me, and He has helped me. Things started to change in my family. My mom, she became 7 years old now. She's 7 years sober. My brother, he ended up getting saved as well, and that was really cool because I experienced it, and so I definitely wanted him to experience everything that I felt. The Youth Venture Teen Center changed my life.
I want to introduce up Christine Bailey. Christine and Mark is homesick. Christine and Mark have been involved since day one. They're on our board, and they've had a vision for this since the beginning. And I just want to say thank you and introduce you up to come and address everybody. Sorry.
Thank you. My last name is not Miller,
Did I say that?
and I will probably cry. So I am going to be really quick. I just want to say that in his book, The Joshua Principle, Mark Hoffman, the founder of Youth Venture, says, in Proverbs 18:22, we read, "The wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous." God wants to give the wealth of the unrighteous to godly people who are his stewards. Think about it. The greatest wealth or treasure the unrighteous have are their children. God is seeking to give the church, the world's children, as our inheritance. He wants to give us the harvest of souls greater than we dared to think. Mark and I read this years ago, and it changed us. And I'm just going to tell you, I was raised probably less than 5 miles from here. I lived in East County all my life. Until I went to Foothills Church and came in contact with Youth Venture, I had no idea how many of the kids that I was driving past, walking to school, or seeing hanging out in the mall, or hanging out outside of Starbucks or Taco Bell, were in such dire circumstances. Enough so that Foothills started 4 teen centers in East County. There were 2 in El Cajon, 1 in Santee, 1 in Lakeside. These kids were coming from everywhere. And I was shocked that I had no idea how much in need they were. And frankly, kind of embarrassed. And then Mark and I both started leading high school groups at Foothills, and we really got to understand what the impact of Youth Venture, because we were, most of the kids that came to our groups, because all the other young leaders were young and fun, but the kids who came to our groups tended to be Youth Venture kids who were kind of looking for a mother or a father figure. And so we started impacting or interacting with Youth Venture by picking up kids, dropping them off, and we were really seeing the difference it was making. Now, I gotta tell you, most of the kids so Mark and I led groups for 8 years. Most of the kids from those groups today are in their 30s, are working great jobs, are married, are having families, are loving the Lord. That is absolutely irrefutable proof that this works. And there are a lot of people who think Gen Z and Gen Y are unreachable. They're just past us. They're too far gone for us. That is not true. They're not that different than you and me. They're just like we were. They want adults to engage, sincerely engage. They want adults who will sit with them and sit in their silence sometimes, or put up with their shenanigans, whatever they do. Because some of them are not real great to have around at first. You know, they're struggling. Who will mentor them, who will feed them a meal. This is what they want, and they need, what they need truly, and we all know this, is the hope of Christ, the gospel of hope. So I'm here today. Mark is not here, but he would want me to, he would say this too if he were here. I'm here to ask you to give and give big, because we have big goals. We've talked about them. We have big dreams and goals that we believe the Lord has given us. We want every kid. We sat in a meeting one time and talked about, do we focus just on San Diego? Do we focus on the state of California? Do we focus on the nation? And Mark said, my husband Mark said, I want all of them. I want every kid. And so let's go wherever the Lord takes us. But we can only do that with you guys. So I was told, not long before I came up here, that we have a $50,000 match tonight. So if you will give 50 amongst you, actually you give more than that, feel free, but if you will give 50, we will have 100 tonight. Please, I want you to do this prayerfully, obviously. We want the Lord to guide you in that, but I'm asking you to give. We're also asking, so on the tables where you are sitting, there should be a little tray that has the flowers on it. There should be a commitment card. You can give a couple different ways. You can commit to monthly giving. You can just write down a commitment if you want, if you're not prepared to give tonight, or you can write a check tonight, or you can, I think there's a QR code, right, that you can give immediately. There are different ways. We'd really love it if all of you would fill out a card for us and then just place it back in the tray. You can put it in the envelope, seal it, no one will see it. But please, we're asking big because we know how desperately urgent the need is. If you're tired of seeing the wicked win, that scripture that Mark Hoffman quoted tells you that we win. Every kid we take back for the kingdom, we win. God wins. Let's take them back.
Thank you again, guys. So just a couple little details. We're not going to mention it, but our fundraising goal for this year, in order to accomplish everything we want to do, we think we have the opportunity to launch 10 centers, continue on. We're hoping this year to raise $150,000, which for us is a big number. That doubles our operational budget, but that's what we calculate we need. So that's what our yearly goal is. If you guys can be a part of that time, thank you so much. So like she said, we have the cards on the table, the QR codes. We also have an iPad if you just want to do it digitally. One of us can help you with the iPad, and you just drop them on your table, and thank you so much. You can keep drinking and eating and mingling and enjoy the rest of the time.